guys, without spoiling anything, you really have to read this book to get a full understanding. It's just one of those books that even the most toughest reviewers is going to have a hard time explaining. It's one of those kind of books, and it's not a bad book. I'm not, it's like, no, it is a very good book, but you have to be really open-minded about this book. You just can't go in this book thinking that you're going to just breeze by it, because if you think you're going to breeze by it, you're going to find out something about this book that I found out about. Is that, oh damn, this book, this is, what the hell is going on here? What the hell am I'm reading? Because let me tell you, when I read this the first time, I really just read it just to pass the time away. When it got to chapter 1, that changed quickly. And I literally had to go back because, for one thing, I really did not know what the hell happened and what going on. I read through it, but I had to read it again just to have a full understanding, because I read, but I did not read. It's kind of like one of those things where you just read to skim by. That's what happened. When I read it, I'm like, oh my God, I missed something. I know I missed something. Maybe go back and reread again so I have a clear understanding what the hell was going on. And as I read it, I had a better understanding what I read, and I had a more appreciation for what I read. Another thing I will say to you, this author has his style. His style of writing is very, very good. Granted, it was not. If I would have stayed with the one format, I prefer him to should have stayed with. But in this one, it worked. You got a different style of writing, and to the point where you honestly, when you read each chapter, you could have sworn that a different author had written it, and yet it did not lose its flow. I mean, like I said, when the explosive scenes between chapter 1 and chapter 2 was over, it calmed itself down, and we had actually got a good story with the daughter in this book. We actually had a good story. We had a good background, what her mother had done that affected her, because like I said, what she was doing actually affected her. In fact, that she actually caught her mother committing adultery in this book. I'm not going to tell you what chapter, what page it is. You're just going to have to read it. You'll spot it right away. I mean, and she mentioned it, and she mentioned her uncomfortable with men. I actually liked this character, and the stuff that she was going through, I actually cared about how the author was going to present it to her. So what happened in the last few chapters of the book, you really felt for her, you really felt for her family, and you actually felt for everybody that was involved in that. It was very, very deep. But like I said before, when you're reading it, you're actually going to feel like you're reading a different author, because that's how it's actually presented. But it's the same author, but he does a good job. This author does a very good job of not slowing the pace down. Like I said, the only beef I have with this book pretty much is the prologue. The prologue is not. It didn't give me a good impression of the book. Because it was a little boring. It was a little boring, but I remember myself saying I can't judge this book from the prologue. But once you pass that prologue, even then you begin to understand better why he did what he did, because that style of writing comes back during the last ladder of the book. You'll see it again, but it makes more sense this time. It's actually all connected. There's not really nothing unconnected. It's just that when you read the book, and when you read it, you don't know these characters too much. They don't really do a great job of describing who this person is, who that person is. They really just basically throw you in here, and it wasn't until later on you realize that everybody that that was mentioned in the first couple of chapters are all connected in some shape or form, and that was what the author was trying to do, I think. And to me, he did a great job putting everything all connected to each other, put everything come to full circle at least, especially when you read the end. Everything does come into full circle. My feedback too, besides the prologue, is, like I said, this book, it's really not for the faint of heart. If you are a person of religion, especially those who have suffered the Holocaust, and I'm saying this for a reason because it's before the World War II and during World War II. There is no after in this book. I mean, so that's should hint where this book is heading. If you are someone who takes that, who are going to get offended by some of the stuff that's going on in the first 2 chapters, you're going to hate this book. You're going to hate this book because, like I said, it is very sexually explicit. At least the first two chapters. And when I say the first 2 chapters, these are the first 2 very long chapters. There are of sub-chapters in these chapters. So we read chapter 1, and then you go to chapter 2, you're still maybe in chapter 1 because they are broken up into different sections, which help the pacing a lot. By the way, I think that was a smart thing he did by breaking it up the way it did. I think that it works very, very well with this book. But if you are a person who pride themselves, again, I'm going to keep repeating this because you guys need to know, if you're going to read this, you got to read it with an open mind. You can't read it with a closed mind. If you're going to, read it and have an already conclusion in your head that a book needs to be appropriately read with no sexual contact, or it cannot reference any religion whatsoever, you're going to hate this book. Because you're going to come in there, you're going to be like, how dare he write this about our culture? How dare he writes this about our religion? It's not right. It's not fair. And you're gonna pretty much hate him for it. I mean, he did have some criticism for this book. It's not like this book was well received by a lot of people, but those who did embrace it will find it to be an enjoyable read and pretty much a masterpiece. This book also, I'm also want to remind you that book, the White Hotel. There was an attempt to make this into a movie. I believe one of the actors they wanted to get was Barbra Streisand at one point. Never came to fruition. And I'm kind of glad they didn't try to put that in the movie, because this is one of those films there's no way you can edit this down. It's going to be a lot. This would probably been a rated X movie if this film came out, or if it was trying to do it today. This will pretty much be NC-17 right down the way, and I think that will pretty much, and the way that the companies are with movies and ratings, I think they will chop it down to the point where it was to lose its magic that the author had tried to present. But overall, besides that, like I said, it will pretty much, it's not going to be no middle ground. You're going to like the book, you're going to like this book, you're going to hate this book. There's no middle in between. What I say, check it out, I have to say is, if you're open-minded and you're going to be aware that you're going to be reading something that's going to be batshit crazy, then yeah, I say it's worth checking out. If you're a person who, in all honesty, are very, very strict in certain writing, and you guys know who are the guys who think Harry Potter shouldn't be written because it's like witchcraft. Yeah, and those who believe that no religion should be put on the bad spotlight, then you will not like this book. I'm just keeping it real. I may be wrong. You guys may have already read this book already. You may have your own feelings about this. I like to know about it. I do apologize if I didn't give you guys a full description of what I felt about this book. But like I said, it's one of those books that is very, very hard to give a fair rating. You really have to read the book to understand. And that is basically all I can tell you. What I can tell you is that D.M. Thompson, in my opinion, have done a wonderful job with this book. And that's pretty much all I can say. So on a scale of pretty much a letter grade. I'm not going to do stars. I'm going to leave that with the movies, especially with the flashbacks. But as a letter grade, this book definitely gets a B+. That for me, it accomplished what it needs to accomplish, and I was not disappointed by it. So that's it. That's all I can tell you about. Like I said before, the book is still available. You can still get this book at your local bookstore. It is still in print. I don't know what publisher has it. I didn't bother looking that up because I have the original publisher book version. It was published by Viking. That's the name of the publishing company that publish it. I'm sure I have not seen anything new from this company for a while. So I don't know if they're still in existence. I'm pretty sure that if it's now released, it's probably going to be done on a different company. But it is still out there. You can get it in paperback if you don't want to spend the lots of money for the book. But it's definitely worth checking out if you guys are open-minded and like some of the stuff like it is. Oh, by the way, it's not a romance novel. Want to make that very clear. It is pretty much mixed with fiction and fantasy. So I pretty much want to make sure, because I thought coming in here, I thought I was going to go to Romance Novel Central, and that's not the case. It's not a romance novel. You're not going to find it in the romance section. So, if my guess, because it really doesn't say what this book is pertained to. But one thing I'll definitely say is definitely not romance. What I can tell you, if you want to look for it, look for the name D.M. Tomas. He wrote other books too, so he'll probably will pop up in your local bookstore. But D.M. Tomas is definitely you should look for. This gets to the author name, and it pretty much will pop up. But he had done other books, so it definitely should be able. You definitely should be able to find his work. So that's it for now. By the way, I'm not attempting to look for any of his other books. If I do come across some of his other work and it does look interesting, I probably will read it. Will I review it? It all depends on the difficulty of his work in order for me to review it. But if I do come across it and if it's reviewable, I will do it. But in terms of the White Hotel, this will probably be the only one I will pretty much care to do review for. I will tell you my next book review. It's going to be in the next few weeks. That is Robin Hood, but it's not the type of Robin Hood that you guys come to respect. I will tell you about that book in a few weeks, but until then, you guys take care and you guys be safe.